Good day guys, coming here. Welcome back to Langrisser 4.0 news from the future. So yup, the wait is finally over. The hero that we all deserve, but probably we do not really want, and is featuring from our protagonist team, the one with the most unluckiest luck, but get one of the prettiest girlfriend. Grenier, the hope of the whole village. So, yep, he's the first guy to get his SP form of the trio. So, featuring SP Grenier at rank 6. So, okay, we'll be going through. So, information are provided from the Langrisser data bank. So, there are chances that when the skills are officially released, we might experience some changes, and we'll talk about it in a while. So can have a look at his stats increment, compare his original Grenier form. So he has his attack greatly increased and his skills too, so he can do higher, better attack or counter attack against enemy. So some of his increment, then his newborn at level 4. So when your unit's HP is below 70%, damage taken will be reduced by 10% when going to battle. And at level 7, when unit HP is below 70%, damage deal will increase by 10%. So okay, this is to encourage you to go lower HP to deal extra damage. And to go for SP characters, you definitely got to get his or her exclusive items for any of the characters having SP mode. And this is his rank 6 talent. Okay, are you guys ready? Here we go. Okay, featuring SP Grenier, the talent is known as Toughness of the Brave. So when being attacked, your 100% will trigger Tenacity. So the effect is that it will increase Grenier's attack defense by 10%. Physical damage taken will be reduced by 5%. Tenacity effect lasts for 2 turns, cannot be dispelled, and can be stacked up to 3 layers, meaning you can gain up to 30% attack and defense increase, and 15% physical damage reduction. And then when you have 3 or more buff, your unit attack will not receive close combat penalty. So when we say unit attack, you will not, it's not just when you attack, but also when you receive attack from enemies. So as long as you're going to combat, you will not receive close combat penalty. So it's very short, sweet, easy to understand, and I'm gonna say hopefully it's gonna be very good in both, well, PvE and PvP. It will be great for old and new players alike. After all, he has been a wasted hero since the start of the game itself. So alright, let's repeat again. So right, number 1. When being attacked, 100% will trigger Tenacity. The effect of Tenacity is that you increase attack and defense by 10%, physical damage reduction by 5%. This effect will last for 2 turns, cannot be dispelled, and can be stacked up to 3 layers. And number 2, when you have 3 or more buff on Grenier, unit will not receive close combat penalty when attack or countering. So yep, he's a ranged hero, he's an archer or bowman. Okay, featuring his first exclusive skills in his SP mode. So number 1, heavy crossbow support is a passive and a cost of 1. So the skill as follows: at the end of a turn, if there is ally or allies 1 square or tiles beside you, you obtain primitive counter attack. So they didn't explain what it means, so I'm going to presume that you will counter or strike first. You attack the enemies first before they do. Then number 2, counter range increment. So the increment is based on number of ally 1 squares or tiles beside you. This whole effect will last for a turn. So okay, before we summarize again, so we're going to do some explanation about this SP skill. So it's a passive, so it will only happen and trigger when you end your turn, as this skill will last for 10 only. So based on the direct translation, primitive attack, or should I say first counter, priority counter, or counter first counter, is that based on description that you will or you should be countering the enemy first. You get to attack against them first, and only then you gain range increment. So the range increment is based on number of allies 1 squares or tiles beside you. So there can be a maximum of 4 allies beside you, up, down, left, right. So that's like a cross formation. So technically you should gain 4 squares or tiles. So if you can combine with Bow, you can be able to counter a maximum of 7 squares or tiles against enemies. So you should be able to counter longhand characters like Lucretia and Lowly Jessica alike. So if he really can or be able to counter of up to 7 squares or tiles, he will truly be a very great hero that can last for, well, maybe a couple of seasons, or well, until any characters that can be able to attack longer than 7 range, like Silveria. Okay, so the thing that has involved some discussion about these skills is that how will these skills increment be counted? So what we mean is, initially we talk about if you're standing as a cross formation, so there are allies 1 square or top around you, so you get this increment. There's also a possibility that you can't do it that way, because they might patch it to the point that this thing will only trigger when you try to guard your allies. However, I think the chances are quite slim so far, because based on the description, it sounds like you'll gain this effect. So at the end of a turn, for every allies 1 square or tiles around you, you'll gain primitive attack and counter range increment. The increment is based on number of allies 1 square or tiles beside you. If there is no changes, I presume he should be able to counter of up to 7 squares or tiles, and that should be pretty awesome. So right, let's re-summarize again. Number 1, gain primitive counter attack. Most likely you'll be able to counter first in a counter attack. Number 2, increase your counter range. The increment is based on number of allies 1 square or tiles beside you. Whole effect will last for a turn. Okay, number 2, weird naming. I presume it's a direct translation from Japanese. Kagate koi, or come at me. I mean C-O-M-E, not the other one with 3 letters, guys. So come at me. It's a 2C skills, a physical type. Physical has a CD of 3, has a range of 3, and it's an AoE of 3. So right, it's an AoE damage skill. So Kagate koi, or come at me, is a skill that attack and deal 0.3 times AoE damage to enemies in range, and enemy hit will have 1 buff dispel from them, and then it will cause enemy to obtain the buff inside. So when enemy who battle with Grenier, the damage deal will be reduced by 15%, and damage received from Grenier will increase by 30%. Inside effect will last for 2 turns, and since they didn't write it cannot be immune or cannot be dispelled, this effect can be dispelled. So not so strong on this part maybe. So yep. So alright, let's re-summarize again. So attack and deal 0.3 times AoE damage to enemies in range. Number 2, dispel 1 buff for enemy damage. And number 3, cause enemy to obtain the buff in sight. The effect is that when enemy battle with Grenier, the damage deal will be reduced by 15%, and damage received from Grenier will be increased by 30%. This effect lasts for 2 turns. So the good thing about SP Grenier is that even though he's more towards physicals or great against physical attacker, however, because of his 3C has that guard effect, it can be guard towards magic, both magic and physical. So not too shabby, even though it is better to guard or counter against physical attackers. So I'm not sure if it's the idea of him is to mainly to give you the idea of countering against Silveria because she is a physical attacker, because Lucretia is a mage and he may or may not or might not be a great counter attacker against mage, even though I may be wrong, because physical attackers seemingly do more damage against spellcaster or mage characters. So who knows, it might be great. Yep, that's all I can hope for, because it's a free characters for us to get. Apparently you'll obtain him not through a CNY event, but a special world map event lasting for 2 weeks in CN, especially for him, starting from the end of January to the second week, aka the Valentine's Day of February. So yep. So these are the listing of the items needed for SP Grenier. And yep, that's it for SP Grenier. So how did you guys think? If he's good or normal or underrated or not so good? Leave it down in the comment section below. We have come to the end. Remember to like and subscribe to the video. This is coming. We'll see you guys on the next Langrisser video. Goodbye.